Hey, Happy New Year. Glad you guys are here. Welcome to the very first Sunday of the year. We're glad that you're here. Let's worship together. Let's start this year out right, and let's sing together.
Now the darkness fades into new beginnings as we lift our eyes to a hope beyond. All creation waits with an expectation to declare the reign of the Lord our God. We will not be moved when the earth gives way. Silence breaks in the name of Jesus as the heavens cry, let the earth respond. All creation shouts with the voice of triumph to declare the reign of the Lord our God. We will not be moved when the earth gives way. For the risen one is overcome, and for every fear there's an empty grave. For the risen one is overcome. He shall reign. He shall reign forever. Strongholds now surrender, for the Lord our God has overcome. Who can be against us? Jesus, our defender. He is Lord and He has overcome. He shall reign forever. Strongholds now surrender, for the Lord our God has overcome. Who can be against us? Jesus, our defender. He is Lord and He has overcome. We will not be moved when the earth gives way, for the risen one is overcome. And for every fear there's an empty grave, for the risen one is overcome. We will not be moved when the earth gives way, for the risen one is overcome. And for every fear there's an empty grave, for the risen one is overcome.
remember how far you carried me from beginning until the end. You are faithful, faithful to the end.
A father's heart that's for me, a never-ending story of love that's always chasing me. His kindness overwhelming, a hope for me unending. He's never given up on me.
And I will sing of all you've done. And I remember how far you carried me from beginning until the end. You are faithful, faithful to the end. I will sing of all you've done, and I remember how far you carried me from beginning until the end. You are faithful, faithful to the end, until the There wasn't a day that you weren't by my side. There wasn't a day that you let me fall. In all of my life, your love has been true. With all of my life, I worship you. There wasn't a day that you weren't by my side. There wasn't a day that you let me fall. In all of my life, your love has been true. With all of my life, I worship we will worship you, 'cause you are faithful. We will worship you. Oh, surely your goodness and mercy will follow me, follow me. Yes, surely your goodness and mercy will follow me, follow me. Oh, there will be a day that you weren't by my side. There wasn't a day that you let me fall. In all of my life, your love has been true. With all of my lives, we will worship you. There wasn't a day that you weren't by my side. There wasn't a day that you let me fall. In all of my life, your love has been true. With all of my life, we will Hey, Happy New Year, everybody. Great to see you. Welcome to the first Sunday of the new year. And I hope you're doing well so far. We've spent the whole weekend kind of like de-Christmifying our house, getting cleaned up for a new year. Pastor Greg, how are you doing over there? I see you still have some Christmas decorations going there.
Yeah. We celebrate Christmas till a little bit later. We're very Christmassy kind of people in this house.
That's great.
We start early and we kind of end late. So it's
great.
a beautiful 6-month celebration for us.
That's great. Keep the celebration going all year. That's great.
All year long.
Pastor Greg's going to share with us a little bit about where we're heading this year as a church, and we're really excited to step into a new year, and we want to share with you where we're going.
Oh, thank you, Archie. Yes, we are starting this new year with prayer. And when we're talking about prayer, I'm excited about sharing these messages. And as Archie and I are preparing them, I tell you, each message gets better than the next. And so really hope that you guys make the commitment to be here, to learn about this and to engage in it. And prayer is really the fuel for the engine of our lives. Just as a car, you can get all excited about the engine of a car, but without fuel, that car's not going anywhere. And so in the same way, we get all excited about our lives, our relationships, all the things we're going. But without prayer, we really don't move forward. So we really share that the importance of prayer and how vital it is for our lives.
At the beginning of the year, as a church and as individuals, you're always thinking about like, where are we going? What kind of adjustments do we need to make? One of those things, a terrific way to start your new year is to line up your priorities in partnership with God. And we want to put right in the chat right now a link to a Bible study plan. That's a fantastic way to start your new year off, to really reevaluate, God, where are you taking me this year? And so if you don't have one, we would love to make one available to you right now in the chat. And there's also a YouVersion, but we want to make one available to you. Also this year, as we kind of shift some priorities, we just want to continue to be a church that's not just all about us. We want to be a church that reaches into our community. And so every month we meet in partnership with the city in Second Harvest Food Bank, right off of Tully Road behind McDonald's at Walsh Park at 10 a.m. on the 16th of this month. So not this coming Saturday, but the next, January 16th at 10 a.m. You can be a part of distributing food to needy families. We take a lot of precautions and making sure social distancing and making sure everybody's safe and all that, but you can still be a huge help to families in need.
Yeah, it's a good time. Thank you very much for everybody who has participated. You know, January, as Archie just mentioned, is a fantastic month for reevaluating our lives and moving ahead. And also, that's what God wants us to do. I don't know that it's a January thing, but it certainly is a lifestyle thing. Continually to reevaluate our relationship with God, where, hey, how are we spending our time? How are we spending our energy? How are we spending our finances? And maybe this is the year that you're going to want to spend more time with your kids, and you know that pays a price, or more time as a couple with your wife or husband, or more time, whatever it might be. This is the time to do it. It's always a price, but hey, these are the times to make these changes too. January is also a time in America where a lot of people get into business and start their businesses. And so that's an exciting time for you too. Or volunteering. Volunteering is a fantastic way to start. And covering all of this is Matthew chapter 6, verse 21. Where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. I think that's a fantastic guiding principle to help us pick the things where we want to invest, where we want to be. Of course, tithing is always up there, and tithing, whether it's 10% or less or more, regardless, it's the consistency of it. It's giving regularly to the Lord and asking, making sure that your life is surrendered to God in that. Here's a slide with some details about how you can give to the Lord. And thank you very much for your faithfulness. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much.
During quarantine, I think we're all wondering, how do I spend less time with all these folks?
Yes, we are.
Yes, we are. But we're glad that you guys are here. Let's spend some time together to continue to worship.
Amen.
The reign of darkness now is ended in the kingdom of light, in the kingdom of You're the king of my life. You're the king of my life. You reign above it all. You reign above it all. Over the universe, over every heart, there is no higher name. Jesus, you reign above it all. On the cross, the work was finished. God poured out your life just to give us new life. Now from the lips of the forgiven, hear the anthem arise. Jesus, you're alive. You reign above it all. You reign above it all. Over the universe and over every heart, there is no higher name. Jesus, you reign above it all. Let all of heaven and the earth erupt in song. Sing hallelujah to the everlasting one. There is no higher name. Jesus, you reign above it all. You reign above it all. You sent the darkness running out of an empty grave. Are seated alone in glory, enthroned on the highest place. You sent the darkness running out of an empty grave. Now seated alone in glory, enthroned on the highest praise. You sent the darkness running out of an empty grave. Now seated alone in glory, enthroned on the highest praise. You sent the darkness running out of an empty grave. Now seated alone in glory, enthroned on the highest praise. You sent the darkness running out of an empty grave. Now seated alone in glory, enthroned on the highest praise. You sent the darkness running out of an empty grave. Now seated alone in glory, enthroned on the highest praise. You reign above it all. You reign above it all. Over the universe and over every heart, there is no higher name. Jesus, you reign above it all. Let all of heaven and the earth erupt in song. Sing hallelujah to the everlasting one. There is no higher name. Jesus, you reign above it all. You reign above it all. You reign above it all. Reign above it all. Over the universe and over every heart, there is no higher name. Jesus, you reign above it all. You reign above it all. You reign above it all. Over the universe and over every heart, there is no higher name. Jesus, you reign above it all. Let all of heaven and the earth erupt in song. Sing hallelujah to the everlasting one. There is no higher name. Jesus, Jesus, you reign above it all.
Hello, my name is Greg Gates, and I am checking in as safe from 2020. Yes, I did survive. I'm one of the survivors of 2020, that horrible, horrible year. And obviously not me, but you too, because you're watching. So you too have made it through 2020 into this new year, 2021, which I could not be more excited about and more optimistic about us getting into this. Sometimes it's even hard to believe that 2020 did end. You're kidding, it's over? Yes, it really is. A lot of people thought we would just go right on into January 2020 or something like that, but no, here we are. And I want everybody to check in here in 2021. In the chat, would you just write 2021? And this is a way for us to make sure that all of us are in reality, that we're still not so depressed to think it's still last year. But go ahead in the chat, write 2021 if you're aware of the year that you're in. And so that will be a way that we can provide this community service to our congregation. Isn't that an amazing ministry that we have, is to make sure you guys are in the right year. Just a little something we do on the side. Well, I'm excited about this year, excited about the kickoff sermon series on prayer. This Sunday, today, of course, I'm preaching on the impossibility of prayer. Next Sunday, the sermon is going to be about the power of prayer, followed by the path of prayer, followed by the persistence of prayer, followed by the promise of prayer. And so I'm really looking forward to the series. I'm looking forward to also the new sermon series we have for February, and then as we go into the weeks of Lent, and then Easter. And so we're getting all ready for that journey together. But here we are talking about prayer. I read a great book on prayer here recently about it's called The Possibility of Prayer, which is coincidentally to our sermon series, not related, but coincidentally to it. But I sure did get some thoughts from it. And it's by a man named John Starks. If you'd like to buy it on Amazon, I'd certainly recommend it. It's a fascinating book. And what reminded me of this was how last week, during Christmas, Ami and I got all excited to go see the Star of Bethlehem. You know, the once in so many century star that appeared where Jupiter and Saturn aligned. And so we, Ami, it's time, we get to go see it. We go out there and we're looking all over the place. And I don't know what's wrong with you. I really had the expectation of something that looks more like a greeting card. We saw nothing that looked like a greeting card. And so we just took a quick scan of the whole sky so we could tell future generations, yeah, we saw it because we saw everything in the sky. Kind of a thing, but I don't think we've actually identified which one it was. I don't know how that works. But in this book that I'm reading, the possibility of prayer, he talks about this interesting star, and it's called the Crab Nebula. And this star first appeared to us here on Earth in the year 1054. That was the first time you'd be able to see it, because in that year, that's when the star exploded and blew up. And it's 4,200 light years away. 4,200 light years away. So that's when the Earth first caught the reflection of that star. And still today, unbelievably, 2,000 years or 1,000 years later, that star is still exploding. I've seen a lot of explosions, but it's a fraction of a second. But this is a case where the explosion started, and 1,000 years later, it's still going. In fact, it's throwing the debris from the star, its matter, out at a tremendous velocity, tremendous speed of 70 million miles a day. It travels 70 million miles a day that this is expanding. If you were to go out and you were to find this star in the sky, there's many other resources better than me to help you do that. You would be able to see it. You can still see it. And if you look at it, I said, I bet I'm going to see it shaking or, shining because it's exploding. No, you won't. It's from this perspective so far away. All you do is you just see a solid light. And that's it. Nothing going. But at that light, if you could come closer, you'd see this thing just expanding in incredible ways. And even in the last 15 years, it's expanded by an additional billion miles. That's just in the last 15 years. Imagine how much more it would be, 1,000 years and how it's grown. So that's what we see. Just to give you a little perspective on it, A human being, a normal human being, is compared to the Earth is 1.5 billion times bigger than the average human being. 1.5 billion times bigger than a human being. Honestly, I don't know why they say average, because I think for those numbers, a little cushion there really doesn't make that much of a difference in the size of the planet Earth, but whatever it is, that's okay. Now, that's big, 1.5. So, but we're talking about a size that is 3 times or 2,900 times bigger than the Earth. That's how much the Crab Nebula, expands per day, expanding like that. To me, that's just mind-blowing to think about how that is just a small blip in all the things that are happening in the universe. A fascinating blip, perhaps, if that's one of the few things you know about the universe and astronomy. It's fascinating, but maybe there's so much more out there. And to think how God knows all about that God lives in that environment. God's created that environment. God's monitoring, watching that environment, involved in that environment. And you know what? It makes me feel very small. It makes me feel very insignificant. This, planet Earth is nothing in comparison to all the planets, not even planets, but the galaxies and stars in the universe. And here we are, and here I am in just a blip of time. And my problems, what problems do I have? Well, I'd like to share with you from Psalm 8. Some of you have probably already thought of this verse as I'm speaking on this topic. Psalm 8, verse 4, what is mankind that you are mindful of them? Human beings, that you care for them. And honestly, that's a very good question. I would tend to say, I agree with so many people say, you got to be agnostic. That's about as best as you can get. God can have no knowledge, the size of the universe and all things he's involved. Why would he know anything about me as an individual? I remember watching a video on YouTube of a man who would evangelize on college campuses. And it was very interesting what his tactic was, his strategy was. He would find people who would be willing to answer some questions, who would identify as atheists, college kids who are atheists. Again, you don't have to look too far to find such an identity. And so a lot of people, I'm an atheist. Would you talk to me a little bit about why you are an atheist? And of course they always do, and usually it's on scientific reasons, is what they'll put out. And okay. And then he says, can you look at this book for me and just leaf through the pictures and then give me your answer again about why there is not a God. No problem. And so what he has is a book that starts off in the universe, and it just shows, all the pictures from the Hubble telescope and all those amazing things. And the students, But what it does, it zeroes in. It gets closer and closer and closer to planet Earth. And but the planet Earth really stands out, from anything we know out there, the blue planet. And then it gets down to us, and then it gets down to a human perspective. And you can see the Earth and how beautifully it is resourced to serve extremely well, efficiently human beings. And how human beings happen to be a very good size, for the things that are taking place on this earth, the different things that happen. And so it's right size, they see that, and then it starts to go into plants and trees, and then it goes down to a very small level. So you see the things that you don't see normally, the little insects, and microbes moving around. Then it gets down to a microscopic level, and then that's just a whole other world. And all of a sudden, that looks like the size of the universe in that little scaled down world. And the kids are amazed because you can't miss the point that this is not random. When you see that type of order, that type of sense into it, you do not say, it just crawled out of some slime, and decided to grow a pair of legs. That's not the conclusion you make when you see the design of the earth and how beautifully organized it is. At some point, you're humbled to say, there's got to be a master designer behind all. There's something that's leading all this. And it was fun to watch the kids, kind of close the book and not really have an answer anymore. And some kids would say, I need to look a little bit deeper into this, because I will tell you that really is a mind-changing experience to realize how things are beautifully designed and so intricately like that. And I think for you and for me, we start to ask ourselves, okay, that might be, but how can we in our prayer expect to reach out to this God that is just so fabulous on every way? I do not have words in 1,000 years. If I was Shakespeare, I would not be able to have the words to express how magnificent, how infinitely large and powerful God is. There's just no, you just have to look at little segments and try to do your best to understand how, what this might say about God, even in its very small way. That's the very best that we can do. And so even from that perspective, how can I as a human being? I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. This is very important. And as we pray, this is what I want you to remember. Because we are not finding God. That's not what it is. We are not looking out there. We're not the ones looking at the grand design and say, okay, this way. No. That's not what is happening in the least. You do not find God. God found you. God found me. God made himself known to us. We never would have had the capacity to identify God. It's just impossible. It just never would have happened. But God reached out to us, and there's only one way of doing that. Either he would, make us, the size of the universe or whatever that was, or he would make himself like us. And that's what God decided to do. And God decided to become man in the form of Jesus Christ. And Jesus Christ walked a very poor life. He could identify with everybody on this earth. He shook hands with people. He loved people. He cared about people. So when you say, how could God, who creates this entire cosmos, be worried about, me afraid of dying, or me afraid of losing a loved one, or me afraid of not having a job? Nope. God cares. Jesus Christ proved to us, showed us that God cares deeply about the struggles and the problems each of us as individuals have. God cares deeply about you, and he has shown that in expressing his creativity through the universe, and expressing who he is through Jesus Christ and how he lived and how he died, and the words that he gave us and the promise that we will have to be together with him. We can know that we have a God that loves us deeply. I want to share with you from 2 Corinthians chapter 1, verses 3 and 4 to introduce the example of this. And this is it, 2 Corinthians chapter 1, verses 3 and 4. Blessed be the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, the Father of mercies and God of all comfort, who comforts us in all our affliction, so that we may be able to comfort those who are in any affliction with the comfort with which we ourselves are comforted by God. That to me is a fantastic verse that speaks so deeply that this God of the universe is also the God of comfort. He is also the God of mercy to you and to me by name personally. He cares to us on this level and sees to our interest and to our benefit on this level. That's what I want to share in this idea here from this passage, that God, he not only does he comfort us, but he has a comfort and a desire to help other people. And one of the major reasons that he comforts us and helps us in our distress is that we might comfort and help others, that there's a togetherness to it. That not only does God comfort us by his word and his presence, but God also comforts us with sending his children to each and every one of us to love us and care about us. So many of us through this 2020 have received the love of good friends and family that have cared about us, and we have seen the comfort of God through them. How God comforted them, that is how they have comforted us, and we are very grateful for that. I want to share a personal story, a very intimate personal story in my own life that has just come to the surface. And so you guys have kind of been on this journey with me along these many years. I'll often tell people that I was adopted as a child. And the reason I do that is because I just feel incredibly lucky to have been adopted. Very lucky that I wasn't aborted. Very grateful that I was adopted. Very grateful for the family that I ended up with. I felt like I struck gold. I don't know how I could have ever ended up with a more wonderful father and mother who gave me just fantastic experiences in life. I could not be more grateful. I'm a lover of life, and I always want to encourage people to always consider adoption. I feel that's very important. I don't feel it's encouraged enough, and so I encourage everybody. Sometimes I've offended people, but deep in my heart, I take the side of the baby, and I say, he wants to live, she wants to live, and there's good people out there that can help. So be that as it may, that's what happened to me, and my entire life I had zero knowledge about my heritage, zero. When I would go to a doctor's office, the doctor would ask, okay, what family diseases do you have, or things like that, conditions, medical conditions. And I'd have to say, well, I'm adopted, so I don't have a clue. I am who I am, and here I am. Whatever you see is what I am, and I don't have anything, to bring to the table beyond that. And that's okay, that's not a big deal. I didn't really care. But it's always a missing piece of the puzzle. So while my parents were alive, I never sought out to find out what kind of heritage I had. Now, when my father passed away after my mother, my father kept every document in the world. And as I was cleaning out his stuff, he would flip over in his grave. You saw how much I threw away, but that's okay. And I found one document that was from the courthouse, and it referred to a child as Baby Boy Thomas. And I realized, hey, that's me. So before I was given my name, I was given the name Baby Boy Thomas as far as the court goes. So that's all I know. Okay, I got Thomas. That's about a year ago now. That's all I had. And where do you go with that, right? Is that a first name? Is that a last name? I don't know what to do with that. Well, about a month and a half ago or so, I had a week where I had 3 different people come and tell me a story about the DNA company 23andMe. 23andMe's headquarters is very near where I live, so I see it all the time. They just recently put up their sign. It's a big, beautiful sign. And all of a sudden, I'm starting to wonder, why am I hearing all of a sudden about 23andMe? Maybe that's a sign. Maybe I should check it out. So I had enough interest and read a little bit about it and realized that, yeah, it's probably not going to tell you anything, but it just gives you in broad pictures, right, who you might be, your heritage. Okay, I'd be interested even in that. So I sent my sample in, my saliva, which is amazing. How can they get all the information out of, stuff you spit? Be that as it may, it came back very soon. And it showed a first cousin, a biological first cousin. And I said, oh my God, biological first, I can find my biological mother with a first cousin. And I got on Ancestry.com. I bought the little, subscription to it. And sure enough, this first cousin has an aunt who used to be married to a man named Billy Dean Thomas. I'm sorry, not Billy, Jimmy Dean Thomas from Alabama. And I go, oh, okay, here we go. And so fortunately, I don't know why I say that, I found out that I was the 5th child born to her. And anyways, I was able to make contact. I did not contact her for fear that, I didn't want to disrupt her life, but I did find that the male cousin that I identified with, he also had a sister. And I said, I'm going to call the sister, because women are always much easier to talk to when it comes to family stuff. And so I called the sister, and I was very slow about this and gave very little information. Again, not wanting to cause any disruption or any scandal in the family. And her response to me was, no, it's okay. I know all about you. I'll tell you everything you want to know. Like, you would? Yeah, I will. And she did. She told me all of these things. But she also told me that my biological mother had never told her 4 other kids. And what happened was, after 4 kids, her husband left her for another woman, and then she had a relationship, and then that's where I came in. And anyways, be that as it may, over a period of time talking to this cousin, biological cousin, I decided to write a letter to the biological mother on her recommendation, her advice. And so I did. I wrote a nice letter just introducing myself, again saying, I'm not here to, bother you in the least. I'll never contact you again, and kind of organize the letter in that way. And I really don't want to, because I have everything to live for. I'm very grateful. And honestly, I found out everything I wanted to know. And I got a letter back from the biological mother, a very nice letter, who told me from her perspective, and how, here she was, a single mother with 4 kids. They're all very young, and she was going to keep me. But then she said, God put something in her heart. She says, why would I have 5 when there's so many couples out there that don't have any? So if any of you come from a family of more than 4, you might wonder if your parents thought about, okay, move on. I don't want to go there. I'm just kidding. I'm not serious. I hope I don't cause anybody to call their mother. Please don't mention this in the sermon. So anyways, mention the sermon to her. So anyways, one of the things she told me was she said, I looked at your Facebook page. I have everything on my Facebook page. Anybody can go there. My whole life is on there. Literally, it's ridiculous. You can go there and look at my Facebook page. I have it all. And she says, I saw that you lived in Guilford for 2 years, Guilford, Connecticut. And she says, I want you to know that your ancestors were the founders of that town. Now, let me tell you a little bit about Guilford. In 2008, my first wife left me for an old high school flame. That's okay. The Lord is good. The Lord took care of me. But at the time, I lost my boys. I lost my job at the church. I lost everything. And I was furious at God for letting this happen. What did I do? Blah, 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 blah. And just such a victim mentality. I didn't know what I was going to do. And I had some friends that were kind enough to say, hey, Greg, you can come live with us. Try to help you find a job and start life over again. And so a very close friend lived in California. And so I said, okay, I'm going to go back to California. I was living in New York at this time. That's where I lost everything. I was in New York. And so I'm going to go back to California. But then I had a friend that I had led to the Lord in Maine. And he called me, he says, hey, Greg, I'm living in Connecticut now. And I just bought a house, and it has a, the in-laws apartment kind of a thing to it, beautifully furnished apartment, brand new. And says, why don't you come live with me? You can live here as long as you want. I'll feed you, and I have a couple companies, and I'll find you a job in one of those, and you can get your new start. And I says, no, I want to go to California. And then he said, but Greg, your boys are in Maine, and because that's where they had all gone back to. And I said, that's true. And he said, well, you need to come to Connecticut because this is the closest I can get you to Maine and to be near your boys. You need to be near your boys. I couldn't disagree with that. I said, okay, I'll come live with you. Thank you very much for allowing me, inviting me to your house. I'm sure your wife's going to hate me. And so I showed up. He gave me the address, Guilford, Connecticut is the address he gave me. I show up in Guilford. And first thing I did was I went to a Rotary meeting on a service club Rotary. And I cannot tell you how wonderfully that group accepted me and brought me in. It was the Rotary Club there was comprised of the leaders of the city. And immediately they asked me to speak. And I'd never spoken to Rotary before. And they asked me to speak on what's it like to not be a pastor anymore. Let me tell you what, I was in a really bad mood about that topic, and I told them, and the only thing I remember is that they started laughing at the beginning, and they never stopped laughing all the way through. And after that, they were like very close friends. I don't know why they laughed. Well, I wasn't saying nice things about the church, that's for sure. And but they just reached out, and they were just so kind and helpful and very generous, and really made me feel at home. And 2 years later, when I got the call to come to the Point, which I was so excited about, and an answer to prayer, never expected that God would bring me back into ministry. I really was sad to leave Guilford. Not on the ministry side, because I didn't, I had a hard time all the way around in that, but I knew God called me to be a pastor, and I have to be a pastor, and this is the opportunity God's leading, and I know God's leading me to do this. So, but I just want to say that I had a wonderful time in Guilford, and that community is a beautiful community, and And off I went. I came to California. Here I am. This Sunday is my 10th anniversary at the Point Church. 10th anniversary. Just so you know, I've never lived anywhere in the world longer than 8 years. I lived in Maine for 8 years, and now I have lived in San Jose, well, Sunnyvale to be specific, 10 years pastoring this church. So here I was 10 years, and just before my 10th anniversary, my biological mother informs me that my ancestors founded Guilford. And what I did was I got on Ancestry.com, and I knew who the ancestors were at Guilford. I had studied the history. I love history, and it's a fascinating town. It was, I knew the history. And I found her relative, and I just went straight down the Ancestry resources, and it went father, son, father, son, father, son, father, son, father, son, father, son, 9 times until it got to her. And and then I'm number 9, and then I saw that I am a direct lineage of the founders of Guilford, and I was blown away. So you're talking about somebody who knew zero about his ancestry. To the next couple of hours, I was able to discover more facts than most Americans have, certainly, about their family. And I learned how the guy who came over from Surrey in Kent, England, how he arrived, came over with his pastor and a group of 25 people, fleeing religious persecution there during the time of Charles I, who was soon beheaded after that. But in 1939, they arrived in Connecticut and set up. They bought land from Indians themselves, from the Mohican Indians, and paid for the land, established the town, and quickly built a stone house in order to protect them from other Indians that might have different ideas. And that's how they started. They started as a true religious community. And it's a fascinating history all the way through. I say all that, but I'm kind of skipping over what the most amazing part to me in it is that when I was at the lowest point in my life, and I didn't know what I was going to do, honestly, I tell you, I thought God had used me and was done with me and had nothing else for me. I thought I was on my own. I really did. I felt all abandoned. And somehow God directs me back to the town of my ancestors, and I've been in that stone house many times. I know the property where that first ancestor built his house, and so much is still there. My jaw just dropped to the ground. This town that I love so much, the town that was so kind to me, the town I just felt so much at home in, to come to find out that I am a direct descendant of their founders is more than I could imagine. And of course, my mind immediately goes to God. Isn't it amazing how perfectly and sophisticatedly God organizes our days? God, of course God knew, and that's why he sent my friend to live there in preparation for my arrival there. And then for me to have such a fantastic experience there. And I healed tremendously, much faster than anybody I ever thought I would. But I really found great emotional healing in that experience. And God had brought me back to home, to the place where I started in this country, if you will, if you want to look at heritage that way. I was just dumbfounded. And as I was preparing this message, I just couldn't get beyond the fact how much God cares. Of course, the 2 years I lived in Guilford 10 years ago, did I have any clue? No, I felt like an outsider. I didn't know. But you know, God helped me feel like a family member there to some degree. Nothing like I feel now. Now I feel like I could walk in the city hall and take over. I'm back. But I just want to encourage you. I don't know what you're going to get out of the sermon, except what I got out of thinking about this is that God cares deeply about us, and that even when we don't know what's going on, God does. And never assume that God isn't taking care of every detail, even though you don't see it. There's good reasons sometimes that we don't see everything, but God does, and he takes care of everything. And after the bad season's over, all we're going to do is look back with gratitude. I tell you, I promise you, that's how God does things. We look back with gratitude. I'm so grateful for you. I'm so grateful for your history. I don't know that if you know a lot more about your heritage or not as much or whatever it might be. The important thing that all of us know is that this tremendous, amazing God that is involved in this universe, expanding cosmos, is the God who approaches you personally and knows you by name and has given you a plan and a purpose, and He cares for you. And He has arranged every detail, just orchestrated a path so beautifully for you to live in this world with Him, in relationship with Him, and forever in eternity with Him. He has provided for it all. I tell you, I'm not that worried about what tomorrow holds anymore. I'm very grateful going to this new year. I'm not nervous in the least because I know it's all in God's hands. It could not, if it was in my hands, it would be in much worse shape. It's in God's hands. And I have learned to trust and be confident that God cares and God provides and God always, always sees to our best interest. He's always leading us home in the greatest sense of that word. I hope this serves as an encouragement to you. I love you guys. So grateful that we're a part of the congregation. Obviously, this is arranged by God. You're here by purpose. Let's make the most of it. Let's be present. Let's be aware of the moment that we're in and enjoy it and give worship to God. Let's close this time together here in our worship song. Let's truly give God the glory. God bless you.
Spoke a word, you say no, no. You have been so, so good to me. For I took a breath, you breathed your life in me. You have been so, so kind to me. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Oh, it chases me down, fights till I'm found, leaves the 99. I could learn it, don't deserve it, till you gave yourself away. Oh, love of God, yeah. I was your foe, still your love fought for me. You have been so, so good to me. Yes, you have. When I felt no worth, you paid it all for me. You have been so, so kind to me. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, love of God. Oh, it chases me down, fights till I'm found, leaves the 99. I could earn it, I don't deserve it, still you give yourself away. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. No wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. There's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. No wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. There's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. The overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Oh, it chases me down, fights till I'm found, leaves the 99. I couldn't own it, I don't deserve it, still you gave yourself away. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God, yeah.
Thank you, Pastor Greg, for that awesome message about prayer. And I think it's a great reminder for all of us as we start a new year, just thinking no matter where we are, no matter what we're facing, that God really is orchestrating all those small details. He's really, really for us, not against us. And so with that knowledge and that kind of hope, we can all step into a new year with some hope. So thank you guys for being here. Thank you for being a part of our church family. And we'll see you next Sunday.